Officials in Ukraine say there is a chance that talks with Russia on finding an end to the military conflict will resume.
Дуже складною ситуація залишається в місті Маріуполь, де противник, попри заяву...
An advisor to Ukraine's president says the talks would take place in Mariupol. The Kremlin has not yet responded. Earlier, Russia said that it would open humanitarian corridors in the besieged city. John Gambrell is a journalist from the Associated Press, and he joins us now from Lviv, Ukraine. John, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it. Can you set the scene for us in Lviv? What is the latest, and what are you seeing there?
Well, today we saw that Russia focused its fire primarily on infrastructure sites. There was an attack on an oil facility in central Ukraine, as well as 5 points of railway infrastructure in the country, including one point not too far outside of the city here. Now, this is a change because obviously the Russians have been focused primarily on eastern Ukraine, but now moving towards the railroad facilities. That suggests that the Russians are focusing more on infrastructure. Rails remains a really important part of the transportation mix here. There are no flights coming in and out of the country given the war, and roads are marked with checkpoints, both police and military. So railway is the only way to get in and out. Obviously, we had U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, as well as U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd come in by train to Kyiv to meet with President Zelensky and come back out to Poland, where Blinken said that he believed that Russia had lost the war and that the Ukrainians had won because the Ukrainians were able to blunt that initial offensive at the beginning of the war that targeted the capital.
And John, I want to go back to that visit from Blinken and Austin. I know they pledged more support to Ukraine. What would that additional support look like, and how important would it be to Ukraine?
Well, it's tens of millions of dollars, and what it looks like initially is that they're going to buy ammunition for Soviet-era weapon systems. Now, this is really important because the Ukrainian military relies mostly on these Soviet-era weapons. So having more ammunition is going to help the Ukrainians continue the fight against the Russians. And America is also saying that they want to offer more money to other Western powers who want to sell equipment to the Ukrainians. The Ukrainians have asked for everything from more ammunition to howitzers to tanks and other systems to be able to basically blunt the ongoing offensive that we see in eastern Ukraine by the Russians.
And John, before I let you go, yesterday was Easter for most Orthodox Christians, including in Ukraine and in Russia. Could you tell if there were any celebrations of any kind or any public gatherings for the holy day?
Yeah, people did come out. I mean, typically Christians here in Ukraine, and including Russia, will normally do midnight mass. Here this year in Ukraine, they stayed away because of curfew. They came to churches early in the morning on Easter Sunday. That included soldiers who are currently fighting even in the eastern part of the country. Now, some of the places that people worshipped had been struck by fire and saw damage. But people did pray and did do their service, and even with sandbags surrounding some of the statues and other vestments at the churches, they did mark the holy day.
John, we have probably about 30 seconds left or so, but any final thoughts of what you're seeing right now in Ukraine?
Well, I think the real question is what's going to happen in Mariupol. They still have those fighters and civilians who are inside of the steel mill that is in Mariupol. That's the last point that the Ukrainians still hold in the city. The longer that they hold that position, the more that's going to tie up those Russian forces and keep them from rejoining other troops that are taking part in that eastern offensive.
John Gambrell with the Associated Press, thank you so much for your time today and your reporting. Stay safe.